Welcome to a Saitama World and Satori team up for today, my friends. It's going to be a fun one since we'll be ranking the reasons behind known monsterizations in One Punch Man by how ridiculous or how justified they are. Some clarifications before we begin. The first is that we don't include monsters which are just different species separate from humanity, such as aliens or sea folk. The second being we won't include monster cells since they didn't monsterize through natural means. And the third being that we aren't taking into account what they choose to do with their monster powers after monsterization. Only what caused them to transform. So if we say someone was justified in their monsterization, we mean the reason it happened and not whatever evil acts they committed following that. Of course, this is a light-hearted tier list, so if we miss someone you think should have been included or included someone you don't think should be here, hopefully it won't bug you too much. We're just having some fun. Be sure to check out my friend Satori. He does incredible videos on One Punch Man and some other properties, which I'm positive you'll enjoy. Okay, the tiering is as follows. Idiot, which suggests that these people have absurd reasons for becoming a monster. Their fault, which means while there may be some understanding as to why it happened, at the end of the day, they only have themselves to blame. Sympathetic, which shows that we can understand and even feel sorry for their reasoning to some degree. And finally, we have valid, which means their crash out was mostly or even totally justified. Okay, so Satori, how about you kick us off with Crablante?
Okay, Crablante is pretty simple and self-explanatory. He ate so much crab that he turned into a crab. I'm not even sure what to say exactly. I think he's an idiot, like just plain and simple. Like it had to have been such an obsession, such an over-the-top love for these crabs. Like he probably wasn't just eating them, he was probably doing all sorts of stuff with those crabs. So I think he probably is an idiot. At the very least, it's his fault, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think like you said, it is crazy that you can eat so much crab that you'll monsterize into a crab. And even if you go by the way he was acting as a monster, you can kind of tell this guy was not completely there. You know, who knows how far this went. This guy could have been the pretty prisoner of crabs. You don't know.
Oh my god.
You don't know what is going on with him and these crabs for him to be so obsessed to the point where it would actually make him monsterize. So yeah, I'm with you.
I
think
be
he
surprised.
has to go on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was just had like a tank of crabs in his house that he just hang out in. Like, I don't know, like
Yeah.
how obsessed was he? I think he's an idiot, and if you want to look at it from like, I don't know, a nutritional standpoint, eating just crabs is bad for you also, so he's an idiot for that too. Like on every level, he's just an idiot.
Yeah, he has not passed the test, we'll say that. We'll put him in the idiot tier, and I don't think many people would disagree with that one. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so as well.
Next up, we have personification of a light pull cord. This monster shadowboxed with the ceiling light pull cord of his room so much that it eventually turned him into a monster. And just before you give your opinion, Satori, I just want to say, I don't even really fully understand this one. You know, I get what they're saying, but I don't know how it made him turn into a monster. I don't know. So yeah, what do you think about this guy? For me, I think similar to Crablante, he's got to be an idiot here, surely.
Dude, his routine was probably get up in the morning, shadow box, instead of working, shadow box, instead of eating, shadow box. Like at the damn light bulb, he just went all day, all night at the light bulb, just hitting it over and over again, or nearly hitting it, I guess, and then just turned into a monster because of that. Like, I don't know, this has to be an idiot. Like, I don't even think it's his fault. I just think he was like kind of not there in the head, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
how does this even happen?
That's the thing. It's like I understand it, but I don't get how it happened. This dude is like a shonen protagonist, and his main villain is the light pull cord in his room. Well, I don't know.
He had all sorts of like imaginary fantasies in his head. Oh, this light bulb is enslaving humanity. Let me kill it.
Exactly. Okay, Tongue Stretcher is up next, and Tongue Stretcher had such an intense love for reptiles that he monsterized into one. And you know, going back on that Crablante thing, it's kind of like, if you love reptiles, doesn't make you a weird person or an idiot or anything like that, but to have such an obsessive, intense love that it would make you turn into a monster, it kind of has to make you ask the question, what were you doing with those reptiles? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And like, as a reptile lover myself, I don't know how it is possible that he would become a reptile from just loving them. But like, is it really his fault for loving something? Like, I don't know. This is the problem with a lot of these early ones. Like, does you just loving something so much that you become a monster make you an idiot? Sometimes yes, but sometimes, I don't know. Like, it's definitely at least his fault. But what did he do with those reptiles? If it's like just petting and stuff, then like, yeah, sure, I can get behind that. I'd probably be a monster too then. But if he went any further, then probably an idiot.
Yeah, and I think if I recall as well, in the scene where he is shown for the first time, he's kind of, you know, leering after the ladies, and he's trying to get his hands on some.
Oh yeah, no,
pretty
we're
women.
definitely not doing that.
Yeah, so I don't kind of know. Maybe he was
We're
kind of
not.
similar.
The rule is we're not counting what they did after they monsterized, just the reason for why they monsterized.
You're right. You're right. But what I meant was his personality before that might give us an inkling into what he was doing with those reptiles.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh God, no. No,
Yeah,
no.
that's what I meant. But yeah, I think we'll probably go with idiot just because of what was crazy enough to make him do that in the first place. Monsterize, that is. Okay, next one is Fist Fight Jin, and he was a bloodthirsty boxer whose need for violence wasn't quenched by tournaments, and his needs for blood eventually made him monsterize. How do you feel about this guy?
This one I feel is pretty blatant as well. He definitely wouldn't be considered an idiot for it, but he was definitely a very violent person, and it would be just his fault, plain and simple.
Yeah.
He was a violent, probably psychopath, and that just kind of turned him into a monster eventually. So it's not sympathetic in the slightest, but he's also not really an idiot. Like, pretty straightforward, their fault.
Yeah, just kind of someone who wants violence and he wants too much of it, and, you know, starts there and ends there. Pretty straightforward. Probably their fault tier, would you agree?
Yeah. Then we have a really funny one, Super Custom MK2.
Oh, man.
Who loved his car so much he became one.
Yeah, so this guy...
What do you think about this one?
So, Pimp My Ride was a good show. Never at any point would I think, I want to do that to my body. You know, never would you ever want to do that. So yeah, this guy loved
Bro,
building
watch
cars.
Transformers, it
too
became
much.
Optimus Prime.
Exactly. This dude thought he was a walking, talking Autobot. And that's obviously, if you're a human, probably not the route that you want to go. So for me, I would probably put this guy in idiot tier, because I think you can love cars, even love them a lot, without wanting to become one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was probably one of those like 90s teenagers who just got his first car and was like just calling it babe and whatnot. Like, you know, Kevin from Ben 10, if you know, you know, like,
Yeah.
that's kind of what happened.
Except he wanted to become Kevin.
Yeah, he wanted to become his car. That's
Yeah.
even worse.
All right, next up
Then
we
the
have...
next ones?
Yeah, go on. Internet surfers. They were getting bullied online so much that they turned into monsters so they could go and find those people and make them pay. Now, for me, this is either the best idea ever or the worst idea ever. You know?
It's the worst.
Because
Dude, they
it's so funny.
they could not handle being YouTubers or like Twitter people
man.
at all.
Tell me about these comments that we would get. This would make them go crazy.
Yeah, these guys definitely in the idiot tier. Like they had to have such thin hide, such like fragile egos. Like I don't know, they were like those Twitter Karens pretty much.
Yeah,
like
man.
it's just kind of what happened.
You know what? I think I'm gonna go find that guy. Yeah, that is some
He disliked my
serious-
post.
That is some serious dedication. But yeah, you're right. This one is completely idiot tier, I'd say, because you should never let someone else on the internet ruin your day, you know?
Yeah.
Especially not if it makes you turn into a monster that somewhere down the line gets you killed by, what is it, Flashy Flash and Sonic and Genos.
Yeah.
All right,
So
next
up we have Jumping Spider, and this one's kind of strange. A spider crawled into his ear, and that he just didn't remove it for whatever reason, and eventually turned into a monster. What do you think about this one?
You see, I'm scared of spiders. I do not like them. So for me, this would never happen to me. But from what I'm thinking, probably either he didn't see the spider or he didn't really get afraid of spiders, so it didn't really bother him. But the thing is, if a spider crawls into your ear, if you didn't know it happened, you'll probably start to realize something is happening inside of your head sooner or later. And then you should have acted. And if he did realize and he just left it, then I don't even know what to say to that, because that just sounds like something out of a horror movie. But I think for me, it's going to be idiot tier or it's their fault tier. What do you think?
Yeah, for me, as somebody who isn't afraid of spiders pretty much at all, like I like spiders, but if one was in my ear, bro, like no.
Yeah, slight difference.
It's getting removed immediately.
Yeah.
I think like what might have happened is he just like, you know, like how dads just refuse to go to the hospital for any reason. Like they can be dying, but they'll just refuse to go get a checkup. Like
Yeah.
maybe he was like that. Maybe he didn't know, and then he started started receiving these headaches and like this itch in his ear, but then he just refused to do anything about it. Like at the very least, he was super neglectful and just their fault, or he just knew, and then at that point he's an idiot if he didn't know.
I reckon we'll play it safe and put him in their fault, because I think if I remember correctly, he kind of looked like a businessman or middle-aged kind of worker guy. So I imagine he's probably quite a smart or at least regular person outside of this incident. Whereas people like the Crablante guy, he was probably always cracked in the head, at all stages. But this guy just made a stupid decision. So yeah, I think probably their fault is the safest bet.
Yeah, kids, if you feel something wrong with you, go get a checkup. Don't turn into a spider.
Yes, definitely that. Lord of Mountains is next, and this was a creature from one of the OVAs. It was created from all of the spite of animals who were driven out from their homes by humans. What do you thought about that one, Satori?
Totally valid, and I don't care what anybody says. Those animals were driven out of their homes, out of their families, probably killed a lot of them, so like totally valid. They lost their homes. What they did afterwards, going and slaughtering everybody, probably not the best thing to do, but like the reason for it, totally valid, I think.
Yeah, and I think anyone that disagrees with that, just think, how would you feel if you got ran out of your home and people that you loved were killed in the process of that happening, and then you just go see, people building over it? You probably wouldn't be too happy either. So yeah, and obviously you've got to think about it as well. It's on the scale of not just one animal group, but it was like create from like a combination of all of this fury. So it's, from their perspective, it's a very big deal. So absolutely valid. I agree with you 100%. Can't really see it any other way, because again, for the reason alone, very, very solid.
Yep. Then we have a pretty blatant one as well, Surprise Attack Plum, who was arrested for drug possession, and then that caused him to lose his job and his family. And then he blamed the police so much that he monsterized to enact revenge. This one, I think, is pretty blatant. He's not really an idiot for this, but it is definitely his fault, just straight up, like, for possessing those drugs and probably for reacting the way he did to getting arrested. And, hating the police so much for just doing their job, being good citizens. Like, I think it's pretty blatant that this is just his fault. What do you think?
Yeah, he tried to play the game, he lost, got mad about it. That's basically what happened from a law perspective. He committed a crime.
Yep.
What happens for what he did happened, and he just wasn't happy with that. At the end of the day, he chose to do it. Falls down on him at the end. So yeah, I think their fault is the pretty obvious one. And then right after that, we have Game Beros, and he was a turtle who was flushed down the toilet by his owner, and then after ending up in the sewer, he mixed with strange things and chemicals, and it caused him to grow into a monster. So quite the opposite, where we just had someone where it's completely their fault. With Gameberus, he didn't even have a choice in the matter. He's just a little turtling along. Guy picks him up, puts him in the toilet, flushes it. He had zero say in the matter. I think that is probably as valid as it can get, because he really was just being a turtle and he got punished for it.
Yeah, cue the Ninja Turtles theme. He ran into some mutagen in the sewers and became a monster. Totally valid. Like, you just got flushed down the toilet without your consent. What you gonna do? Like, it's totally valid.
And like maybe like with some other animal, we could be, oh, that animal was dangerous, that dog was biting everyone, it had to be put down. This is a turtle. There's nothing that a turtle that is big enough to be flushed down the toilet, by the way, there is nothing this turtle could have been doing to anyone that would have warranted it being a risk. So this was just completely uncalled for. That's what makes it even worse. So yeah, I think valid.
If this was the Chihuahua monster from the recent chapters, then I would say he's definitely not justified in turning into a monster, because Chihuahuas are monsters in the first place. But yeah, the turtle, no, the turtle didn't do anything wrong.
That's right. Do you want to take this next one?
Yep. So next up we have Vaccine Man, the very first monster in the series, who was conceived by nature as a response to basically humans killing the planet. This is basically like that take on like humans being the virus to the planet and the planet developing an antibody to destroy that virus. Like, that's Vaccine Man. It's just the Earth fighting back against, global warming, against deforestation, the pollution. So I think it's pretty valid. Like, obviously, him going around killing humanity, probably not a good thing, but just the reason for why he came to be is definitely valid in my eyes.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the way that I look at it is when you feel ill or, something's wrong with you, you go, whatever's messing me up needs to go. I need to take some medication, or I need to start doing this. Yep. That's just the way the Earth feels about everything that's going on inside of of it from what the humans are doing. It's kind of like, oh, the Earth, oh, I don't feel so good right now. Let me take some medication. That was creating Vaccine Man. So it wasn't necessarily some malicious, oh, these guys are about to get it. You know, they wasn't doing it like that. It was thinking about it the way that you would feel about taking medicine to get rid of something inside of you that's doing stuff that you think it probably shouldn't be. So yeah, I'm with you, valid. And I think we could probably even do that for the next one, which is Forest King. Now the exact nature of the monsterization here is unsure, but I believe it does say that it wants to restore the lost greenery of the earth. And you know, once it became a monster, it wanted to do that using humans as fertilizer, but the reason itself was to restore the lost greenery. So that's quite similar to Vaccine Man in the sense that it just wants to return some earth to its former glory. So I reckon we can probably go with sympathetic or valid. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think it's very similar case to Vaccine Man. It's like humanity just kind of sucks and we have to do something about it, like from the nature's perspective. And yeah, I didn't think it's pretty valid, like just straight up.
Yeah, kind of in the same boat as Vaccine Man. And then we have Devil Longhair. He grew his hair out and became so obsessive about his hair care management that it turned him into a monster. So yeah, this kind of guy is like reverse Saitama. Saitama's not got enough hair. This guy's got too much of it. What do you make of Devil Longhair?
Imagine if Saitama ran into him. The consecutive serious punches wouldn't even do that justice, like how much rage Saitama would feel.
Made him feel more angrier than any other monster. We'd have, you know, the face he pulled against Cosmic Garo? It'd be that. Just staring at Devil Longhair like, oh, too much hair, huh? You know?
Dude, he tried to like pull it out and implant it into himself, so I don't know. But as for Devil Longhair as a monster, as a reason for monsterizing, again, how obsessed was he with that hair? What was he doing with his hair? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I think he definitely has to go in, at the very least, his fault, but probably kind of an idiot. Like, how do you care for your hair so much that it becomes monsterized? Like, yeah. I don't know. I don't even know how that's possible.
There has to be a limit. Surely you get to some point where you say, my hair looks good enough, right? Why do you keep, I don't know. I feel like you must hit a wall at some point.
He was Rapunzel if Rapunzel was just straight up a psychopath.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. So I think we'll go with idiot here. And up next we have Pesky Clown. So this is more of a recent one. He was a clown who had an extreme craving for attention, and it grew into such an obsession that he monsterized and merged with his clown outfit. How do you feel about this attention-seeking clown?
I think knowing like humanity, seeking attention is natural for most human beings, so I think that part of it is kind of valid, but to the point that you would become a monster, like you seek that much attention, you need that much validation in life, I don't think he's an idiot for it. I do think it is kind of sympathetic, but at the same time, it's totally his fault, like, right? Like, wanting that much attention that you just become a monster for it.
Yeah, and I think what saves him from going into the idiot tier is that he had a job which aligned with needing attention, so you can kind of feel like, okay, I can see where this comes from because you need it to be a clown, but you've still went off the rails entirely. So yeah, their fault tier is pretty much where I have him as well.
Yep. Next up we have Neon, who was a house cat and was sick and tired of being hugged and kissed so much by its owner that it eventually turned into a monster. Now, from a human's perspective, like, it's just straight up an idiot here, right? Like, as a human, like, you get so much love that you become a monster, that wouldn't make sense. But for a cat specifically, all that love might feel like abuse, like straight up all that kissing, hugging, like for a cat, I do feel like it would be like kind of abuse. So I think that isn't enough to make it a valid crash out by any means, but I do think it might be like our first sympathetic monster. What do you think?
Yeah, because like you said, from the human perspective, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But when you think from the cat's perspective, and here's the thing, I love cats, I have cats. Sometimes you stroke and, you know, hug the cat too much, you get clawed for it, you get bitten for it. So you just know by proof, too much is too much for a cat, and the cat lets you know when it wants to have some time to itself. So I can understand from a cat's perspective, it was probably too much and it just needed, you know, to get away. And for it to monsterize for it, I imagine the obsession of the owner was probably quite a lot. So maybe for a cat's perspective, it just needed to find a way out of that situation, like you said.
Yep. So yeah, I think this one goes into the sympathetic tier.
Yeah.
Now, another one, pretty similar, but a lot more valid, is Super Mouse, who was a lab mouse, which was experimented upon, and eventually it monsterized because of that. What do you think about this one?
So I think from, when you think about the perspective of this mouse, this is like Attack on Titan, except
exactly.
It's scientists who are 100 feet tall wearing lab coats and masks, and they're electrifying you and putting all these weird formulas inside of you. You probably are going through absolute living hell, you know. It's kind of like the torture games or something, but you're just a mouse.
Yep.
So from the mouse's perspective, he's like, humans are the worst. Like, he's got no reference to any other human.
Again, this is I very much agree with what you said. This is Attack on Titan, but if the Titans like took the humans and instead of eating them, they experimented on them. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's bad. Like,
Exactly.
I think this is a valid crash out.
And you know what? It might even be the first monster whose actions after the monsterization actually make the most sense. Because from him, he's like, all humans are terrible. Look at what they've done to me. But obviously, we're not ranking him on that. But I just think it's funny from his perspective. Like, the human race is probably the worst thing ever. But yeah, in terms of what made him become a monster, yeah, 100% valid. You know, this dude basically spent a whole life being a test subject, and then it caused him to monsterize. What more do you expect from it?
Yep, exactly. Next up, we have a very interesting one, Homeless Emperor. So why don't you give us the rundown on this one? What did he do to become a monster?
Okay, so Homeless Emperor, he got a new job, and then he was forced to parade around naked at the employee welcoming party by his manager, which, by the way, I don't think is the best way to make a first impression on your new colleagues. But after that, he got fired for being accused of sexual harassment. Because of that incident, this led him to losing his house since he had no job. Then he became a vagrant, and basically he started living in a park. So he was forced to do something by his new boss, and then got fired by his boss for that because someone else essentially said that was his fault. Pretty tough time. And during this time when he was a vagrant, he had a realization that humanity was starting to stomp all over the natural ecosystem where he lived, and so he decided that in order to be free from the modern world forever, he would just have to end himself. But as he was about to do that, a being which claimed to be God came before him and said, hang on a minute, you're good, bro. I agree with everything that you're thinking about, and you don't need to die. It's everyone else does. And then he monsterized essentially by getting given powers. So that is kind of what the rundown was on that. So for me, I can see it going a few ways. I personally feel like he's in sympathetic, because I feel like he took his situation and his experience and went too far off the deep end, because he was wronged. He did have a terrible time of it because of his manager, but I think deciding that all of humanity needs to go while he was still human in that sort of line of thinking was maybe a step too far for what I would consider valid. So I think he has the means to monsterize, and he's got very good reason to be annoyed, but I think what he wanted to do with those feelings went a bit too far while he was still a human. What do you think?
Yep, so this is where our opinions differ slightly, and both interpretations are valid, I think, but for me, I would lean slightly more towards the valid tier, because for one, yeah, terrible experience with one person, but then I would assume he did try to apply for more jobs and got, like, rejected because of what he did in the previous job. I would think that he did have more time for introspection, and, like, that part where he did look over the planet and just see, like, yeah, humans are trampling all over the natural ecosystem. I do think that gives him more credence to his words. Like, it wasn't just his experience, but also that disillusionment with what the humans were doing to the earth. And the linchpin in all this is literally God came down from the heavens and told him, "You're right, bro." Like, if you're ever gonna have an excuse, a literal deity telling you "you're right" is probably a good one. So,
yeah,
I do lean
true.
more towards the valid crash out here. Obviously, wanting to slaughter all of humanity isn't really valid, but like the reason why he started doing it is he went through terrible experiences, and then literal God told him to do it. Like, pretty valid, I think.
And just to touch as well on the job hunting part afterwards, can you just imagine going for your next job and they're like looking through the CV or the resume? Yeah, so so what made you leave your last job? He's just sitting there. You know, I guess I got naked. You know, just terrible. So yeah, I reckon we'll throw him in valid, but it's very it's easy to also put him in sympathetic. So for those watching,
it's
whichever.
definitely valid to put him in either one of those categories, I feel, because like
Yeah.
he can be sympathetic or he can be justified.
That's right. And it's kind of a similar one, but not quite the same. The next guy, Phoenix Man. He was humiliated by his producer and then fired after the kids show he starred in got cancelled, and he was unable to let the role all go, and he continued to wear the costume until eventually he started to lose his humanity, and then even started to hear a voice coming from his suit. Soon enough, as you'd imagine, he turned into a monster. How do you feel about Phoenix Man?
I feel like this one is Homeless Emperor, but a lot less justified, because whereas Homeless Emperor went through all these terrible experiences, Phoenix Man just kind of got fired and then just refused to let that job go. Like, bro, find another job, improve your resume. So I do feel like this one isn't, it might be a little sympathetic, but at the same time, it's definitely his fault for just not letting go. Like, he was just too stuck in the past, I suppose. Maybe the suit was whispering to him and, like, you know, calling him to never let go, but I feel like he had to go through a lot of time already to get to that point of just not taking the suit off. So I do think he's either their fault or maybe even the idiot here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones where you can even look at the acting world. So many people in acting lose their jobs and they have to go on to the next role, as it is. So it's something that Phoenix Man, he should have been prepared for. He's an actor, you know? How could you not see this potentially coming? So I do agree. It is a kind of a sucky situation, but he should have, you know, just got himself up by his bootstraps and said, all right, let's go for the next job, but he didn't. So for me, he's in their fault.
Yep, I agree as well. And finally, the big bad boss of pretty much all monsters in terms of how monstrous he is, Führer Ugly, who was treated cruelly by everyone for being ugly and ostracized for society and just completely disgraced and removed from society basically until his heart was eventually swallowed by darkness. So what is your opinion on this one? How justified is this?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one because you have to think from his perspective. He could do absolutely nothing right in life because of his appearance. Everything that he wanted to do, make friends, find a lover, get a job, you know, partake in hobbies and stuff with other people, be a part of the community, everything he wanted to do, he was rejected by people purely because of how bad he looked. So it's not even a case of, he just looked ugly and that was it. It's like, no, this dude looked ugly and couldn't get any part of his life working because of it. Not from his own side, but from everyone else's. For me, I think that's kind of a valid crash out because, you know, if you can't even live your life properly because you look so bad and everyone's just so happy to pile that on top of you. Well, I mean, in One Punch Man's world, you know, where you can moisturize by eating crab, this is definitely gonna set you off.
Yeah, and you gotta realize that we are separating the monsterization causes from what they do after they monsterize. Like, this has come up a few times, but like, obviously Führer Ugly is the worst.
They're terrible.
But in terms of how justified he was to start the path towards being the worst, I think he sits pretty high up there. Now, it's also uncertain, like, did he just, like, neglect his hygiene so much that he became so ugly? Or was he, like, actually, like, unable to control it, like he was just born with something? So that also probably could play a part. But overall, I think it's a pretty damn valid reason to crash out. Like, you're just completely rejected by all of society just for your appearance. Like, yeah, I'd say that goes into the justified tier, honestly.
Yeah, I'm with you entirely. So yeah, definitely a valid one. But like you said, oh, this dude is the worst. Oh god, just the worst guy. But before that,
it is poetic that the worst monster is like up in the top for how valid his monsterization was.
Yeah, it is very interesting for sure. Anyways, I reckon that's all of the main ones that we can hit for today. Satori, I want to say thank you so much for joining me here. I think we had a really fun conversation. And yeah, hopefully, I think most people will agree with most of our choices. I think we've done a pretty good tier list for monsterization reasons.
Yep, thank you for having me on. It was a lot of fun. And to end the video, I want to pose a question. How did Black S monsterize?
Oh, that almost sounds like dangerous information to know. All right, thank you again. Guys, be sure to find Satori online. His content is amazing. Like I said earlier in the video, he makes very good One Punch Man content and he also covers some other franchises sometimes. You will not regret checking him out. Thanks again for watching. Leave a like. See you on the next one.
Make sure to subscribe to Saitama World as well. Bye.